Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to take you on a tour of some of the new exciting enhancements in your new Paragon. I am joined by Brian, who's going to tell you some of the new things that have been added, what he's been working hard at in order to make this conversion happen. So first and foremost, if I haven't got a chance to meet you, I'm seeing some new names popping in. My name is Colleen DeLang. I am staff here at my REALTORS, also been an agent myself for 22 years. And I'm going to take you through basically the second half of today's presentation, more of the demo, going in and showing you some time-saving tips and techniques. But throughout the demonstration, we know that change is hard, and we do empathize anytime you go through a change, especially in our real estate industry. It's always difficult. So we're going to show you some great enhancements that have been made. We are going to ask you to report anything should you notice something doesn't look right on a listing, but you're welcome to ask questions throughout the demonstration today. So there is a go-to webinar panel, which is probably minimized at the right-hand side of your screen now, and that has a questions box in it. If you click open that questions box, you're welcome to type a question in there. When I'm talking, Brian's going to man questions, and vice versa. When he's doing his demonstration, I'll be taking those questions. And first, before we get started, I do want to make sure that you can hear and see us okay. So if someone can just take a quick second and type in the questions box, yep, we can hear and see you, that would be great. Then we can go ahead and get started. In addition to that, we also have a handout section. That's going to have a couple of handouts that I'm going to talk about. Thank you so much, Carrie. That's going to have a couple of handouts that I'm going to refer to, kind of like some cheat sheets as well as the data sheet information. We're going to cover all that and much more. But with that, I want to turn it over to Brian Alford, who's been working tirelessly behind the scenes. I have to say he's been working night and day to make sure all that data is moving over, going over. He's going to be covering some of the changes, things that you're going to see, some of the changes that we've made in the system recently. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to one of the smartest people I know, Brian, our Chief Technical Officer.
Oh, you're embarrassing me. Okay. Now, this is the overview. If you've attended some of the other classes, especially the listing entry, this is nothing new. I might add some new things to it, but here we go. Again, reminding everybody, we've done this for a while. This is always the most stressful point in changing systems. These conversions, they're very disruptive. We do our best. And that requires everyone pitching in, reporting, feedback, all of that. You'll see, if you communicate with me, you'll see that I love feedback. I can't promise everything, but the more feedback you give me, and that's on top of errors and suggestions, it's just that information helps me build a better MLS system. So just consider that. One thing I want to remind everyone is you are retaining your branding, your own MLS, because you still are. Fields, you'll notice that we've added numerous UPAR fields. Communication is still there. Your board can still communicate with you the same way they did in the previous MLS system. Now, rules. Now, there is a difference of rules between one MLS and another on this platform, and we do have the flexibility to enforce your policies. Now, a set of policies that I just put in place is the fact that your members, or you as members, do not or cannot withdraw a listing, and that's whether it's conditional or unconditional. You can't extend listings without your board approval, and that the same goes with the conditional withdrawn and the unconditional withdrawn, as well as closing out listings. That requires your board staff. So if you get hit with those errors that say, hey, your board does not permit you to conditionally withdrawn or unconditionally withdrawn, or change the expiration date, or close a listing, change the status to closed, call your board or email your board. There's nothing our support staff can do. Those are your board policies that we put into place, so just bear that in mind. Okay, we're still working on backfilling and correcting some of the additional fields. We did extend the public remarks by twice the size, so it's 2,000 characters. We're still working on backfilling some of those. Showing time went live last Monday. We're still working on Cloud CMA. I'm just looking at what Lone Wolf is doing about that, and the same goes with HomeSnap Pro Premium. Now, the premium part is something I'm going to show shortly. Bsna deep linking, this is something new as well that would provide linking to a particular property from the MLS system into Bsna records. Single property websites. If you've listed in the last week, you may have gotten an email that says, hey, it's time to promote this listing. That is the single property website. It allows you to promote that listing yourself as well as your other listings on social media. Okay, data sharing. It's what you were previously, and on the new system, you get all of these additional MLSs added. Now, we have talked to the Eastern UP. We offered them a very, let's just say, a very inexpensive, if not free, solution to data share, and they said no at this time. Maybe you'll have better luck. The same goes with Emmett AKC, which is Northern MLS, and Water Wonderland. The door is open. We can have a very inexpensive solution to data sharing. So the question is, you know, all they have to do is say yes at this point. Okay, Wisconsin. We have added all 72 counties, as well as numerous areas and school districts. So it was definitely a substantial part of the business in the Upper Peninsula Association. So it wasn't something I could ignore. So if you see something or you have a property that we don't have a place for in the areas, let me know. Let your board know. And we can add the appropriate school districts, municipalities, mail cities, and areas. Okay, here's some of the unique fields that we added. Now, these are what are called non-standard fields. They're localized fields. We did that. Your board felt that these were the most important. Now, it might not end there. If there are other fields like electrical, that one seems to be coming up. That one meets what are called RESO, and we'll be adding those. So just stay tuned. And anything that we have in the previous system, we could pull back into the new system. And this is what I meant by standards or non-standards. RESO is an organization, real estate standards organization, created by NAR. And what they've done is they've created these set of data standards, field names, fields that we're supposed to follow. And it's that compliancy that we're required to, you're required to, as a NAR-run association, to comply with these mandates. So, and they change over year by year, but we have to get certified every year. And they have a set of standards that are called data dictionary. Those fields and those field values are what we're supposed to follow. Okay, missing required fields. Anyone that has touched a new listing or a listing that has been entered in the previous system, and now you're going to get hit with a number of these fields. Maybe not all of them, but you'll get hit with this type of error. Just simply go through and fill in that information, and your listing is updated. If you have any issues, again, report it to board staff, report it to support, and we can get you fixed as soon as possible. Notable points of difference. Again, rentals are available in all classes. All you had previously was just residential and commercial. You'll notice the differences in statuses. And I think where there seems to be a little confusion is the pending with contingency, which is equivalent to our keep showing contingency applies. However, a lot of you have said that pending with contingency does not offer showings. Strangely enough, it's actually an active status in your other system, and it would continue to accrue days on market. If you do not want your property shown anymore, use the pending status. That's what it's there for. It means, hey, we're not offering showings anymore. One other thing you might see is the coming soon status. That is used by some of the other data sharing MLSs. Not everyone does. UPAR does not currently use the coming soon status. And one of the things that I had to make a change kind of last minute on the 4th, the original MLS number field has been replaced. It's still there. We had to change that to meet the requirements of showing time. However, we do have a custom field for UPAR, the UPAR MLS field, and that holds all of the old MLS numbers that were in the previous system. So if all you know is the MLS number, you can pull that field up under Customize and search for the old MLS number. If you know the address, then you could just simply put that in the quick search. Question?
Got a couple questions. We had a delay in showing policy. Is that not the same as coming soon?
Well, I asked about that, and it sure seems like it's the same thing as coming soon. So that's something that I could still ask your board what it is that did previous to that when we were in converting. They didn't seem, I asked about what that meant, and it wasn't something that seemed to be required or even used. I looked, and it appeared to be not even used. So I think it was kind of a drop at that point. But if you're interested in the coming soon, all I could say is talk to your board.
Good questions. Thank you, Carrie. And Carrie said, yes, we did use it. So it looks like it was a used status. The next question is there a way to get a list of RESO fields that are now required?
Absolutely. I can give you all, I think there's 2,000 of them. Wow. And you can definitely have yourself, I mean, it's a technical site. I did give it to some agents. We could share it, and those, I mean, have at it. It gives not only the fields, but the enumerations. So it'll give you what the type of fields are. You know, it really gets very detailed, but it really answers everything that you need to know about what those standards are.
Sure. So Carrie, I can send it out. And I think her question was more that are required in Paragon. There's not 2,000 fields that are required in Paragon. Don't worry.
No.
Carrie,
the way that works is if we adopt a field that is close or similar, we're supposed to adopt it in the format that RESO states. So now, while we're not required to have all of thousands of fields that they have, but the ones that we do have should either comply or be close. It should be complying with what NAR has. Now, non-standard fields are permitted, but you got to bear in mind, non-standard fields, they work fine in the MLS, but they don't go too far outside of the MLS. So if your motivation is the data share or for your information to be published anywhere else, that information won't make any sense to anything outside of that, out of your database.
Okay, I think that's it.
Good? Okay.
Good.
All right, this is something that we brought up about 4 weeks ago when you went live in parallel, and it's still not too late because your old MLS system is still up and available. You could still go in there for reference for historical properties, or to go in there and to export saved searches. Now, the exporting of saved searches is definitely, you know, it's still a manual process. The other things that I still want everybody to use that corrections button. Right now, I see it, so if something is missing, hit that corrections button. I get everything I need to know. Just state what the problem is with that listing. Now, exporting, again, it's a manual process. You got to go under save searches, pull that up, and you'll see in the criteria summary what information was in there in that system. So what you're going to do is gather that, and then you're going to have to manually go into the new system and enter that same information. Okay, now I did create a report called the UPAR All Fields Detail, and that can be found under Specialty Views. Now, I tried to make this as familiar as your default all fields detail in your old system. So this way you can look, see what is either incorrect or missing, and report it with a corrections button. And again, reporting corrections. These are probably the most important fields that you could provide because they're based on location. Now, if a property isn't where it's supposed to be located, wrong area, municipality, it might not ever appear in somebody's search. So it's imperative that this information is correct. So if you see incorrect area, municipality, mail city, school district, or geolocation, which is where is it on the map? Where's that pin on the map for that property? If any of that is incorrect, I encourage everyone to report. And if you haven't logged in yet, this is how you do it. Capital U, capital P, in front of your existing Paragon login, or your previous or old Paragon login, and then your password should be the same. If you can't get in, try the forgot password. If that doesn't work, call support. We could definitely help you out, but we will only send a password if need be to the email address on record. Any questions?
Nope, I think we're good so far.
All right.
Oh, Brian, looks like we lost Brian.
Nope, I'm still here.
You're still there? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got questions.
Okay. Looks like we lost you for a second. At least that's what it said on my. Yep, it said feed is gone. All of a sudden we lost you there for a second, Brian, but we're glad you're back.
Yeah,
we
I
can't see
sharing my screen.
Okay. All right. All right. Any other questions for Brian? Now's a great time to go ahead and get those entered. And then if it's all right, I'll go ahead and grab your screen. Is that okay?
Yep.
All right. So, yep, looks like Brian, you should be able to see, you should be able to see my screen, my Paragon screen, as well as, I think Brian cut out for a second, but he's back now, so that's good. So basically, if you have any questions for Brian, now is a great time to add those in. And I'm going to take you on a tour inside of Paragon. I'm going to show you some of the new fields that maybe you haven't seen before. And really what I'm going to try to do more with this class is take some of our popular tech support tickets that we're getting in right now, and we're going to try to go over some of those. There seems to be some very common things that you had in your previous system that originally we didn't have, but Brian's been working hard to get those in. And the reason is, and this has been more of a difficult conversion, and the reason is where you're located, you have a lot of things that maybe aren't as universal as we would see down here. So what I mean is there are 34 MLSs in the state of Michigan. As Brian mentioned, we now have data sharing with all but basically 3 of them. And what makes data sharing work is that the RESO compliancy, or the standardization of fields, makes it work from one MLS to another. But you've got to have some common fields, right? And that makes it a little more challenging, because every MLS, and I got to tell you, it's not just you, but every MLS that you onboard has what we call kind of unique fields, or we call them sometimes unicorn fields, meaning something maybe in your specific area, but they may not have it in a different area of the state. For instance, we noticed one of the unique fields to you that we added even before going into the conversion was trailside or ski resort. Now, those are not things that you find in a lot of other MLSs. Those were really unique to you. One of the other things that Brian was tasked with, and we had no idea, and I don't know if Brian went over this slide, I don't think he did, but how many Wisconsin properties that you had. When he was going through, he had to basically map all the counties in Wisconsin, which certainly took a while. We planned on mapping all of Michigan, which is in there, but now he had to bring in Wisconsin because there was a lot of Wisconsin properties. But then you have counties and areas in Wisconsin that are named the same thing in Michigan. So he actually identified the Wisconsin properties with -WI. So a lot of the common tickets that we're getting, how do I find properties in Wisconsin? Other questions that are coming in, can I copy and clone something I had in the old system? The answer is absolutely yes. You can still copy and clone it in the new system. Other popular questions were, what about history? How far back is the history going to go in the new Paragon? And Brian did a great job of gathering up everything. So everything you had in the old system, all the historical data, all the property records, all of that is still there. Plus, you're going to have a whole lot more in the new system. So you're going to have all your history, all of your data came over, all of your contact records came over, so all of that's there for you. And I know as an agent myself, that would be one of the questions I would be wondering is, am I going to have everything I had in the old system? So in the old system, you can still go back and look at that information. It's now in a read-only state. So it's basically kind of like a flattened state. You can't add anything or change anything. You got to do all those things in the new Paragon. But of course, there are some new features, and of course, you have a lot more data, which is why you're doing this. So the idea is, as an agent, I was hating it when my buyers were calling and they were finding stuff faster on our IDX sites like Zillow or Realtor.com than I could find in the MLS. That didn't work for me. So Brian has done a great job of putting some great integration into Paragon to make finding multiple properties easier and faster, so we as the agents have the advantage. But of course, if you're licensed in the whole state of Michigan and you can only sell, in one particular area, doesn't really mean a whole lot. If I get a call and it's on the other side, I want to be able to list that property or see the comps I need. And so that really is the purpose of data sharing. To kind of just tell a quick story, when I started, I had to belong to 3 different MLSs. I had to pay 3 MLS fees every month. I had to put the same identical information into 3 different MLS platforms, and I would often get fined from one MLS because I closed it in one and not in the other. It really didn't work. So 12 years ago, we started to work on this data sharing, where you could use your home MLS. You could belong to the association MLS of your choice, but it allowed you to see everything you needed to do your job in your home MLS platform, which is really the goal of data sharing. Now, are there more pains associated with data sharing? Sure, because you can see more comes up when you're searching. So there's going to be some tips and tricks. We're going to show you how to filter that down so you're really only finding what you're looking for and it's not so problematic. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn off my camera here and let you see what you came for, which is the screen here. All right, so the first thing I want to point out in Paragon is some of the enhancements that were made. So of course, your main section is going to be controlled by your board. So you're going to see, information about upcoming classes. You're going to see, pop-ups about things that they have going on. We have classes like this. And by the way, we're recording this class. We've recorded all the classes that we've done for UPAR, and we are uploading them on a YouTube channel so you can rewatch them anytime you need to. Classes like we have the Collab Center class. We have a new listing entry and maintenance class showing you how to enter right from the tax information. We have a Home Snap class coming up, a Cloud CMA class, so a lot of great classes, and we're walking you through the integration that is within Paragon. And that's really what Brian has done so well, is he's put these integration points in Paragon to make it easier to use these products. The first thing I really like about Paragon, though, and a lot of people don't use it, is the power search. If you are on the phone and somebody calls you and they want to find one property fast, this power search is perfect for finding one property or one MLS number or one agent very quickly. Now, let me say a little something about MLS numbers because I don't want there to be confusion. You can still search in the UPAR MLS number, which happens to be right over here in my quick search. You can still search if you know the old MLS number. Most people search by address today, so probably I would think it would be easier just to search by the address up here. But if you had an old UPAR MLS number that you wanted to use, you still can use that. You just have to put it in the UPAR MLS field. The reason is when you go into data sharing, A lot of those numbers that you used were numbers others used too, and there can be duplicates and it can cause problems. So we kind of go through a renumbering process, because remember, you're not looking at just that small area anymore. You're now looking throughout the entire state. So what I tell people to do is, if you know the address, this little power search at the top, it's kind of Google-esque. If you just simply type in the beginning numbers like 205, and I'm not even putting the whole word in, but I'm looking for 205 Lakeshore. If I just start typing 205 Lake, I'm going to see all the actives and pendings right up at the top. So if I'm looking for the house that buyer's calling in on, I can simply type in 205 Lake, and it's going to bring up that property for me. And now let's say that he wanted me to text it over to him. I can go right up to the share button, click on text. And as I mentioned, Brian imported all of your contact records. So if you had your contact already in Paragon, you could quickly text it over to him. If you didn't, don't worry, you can hit add new contact. Just put in his first name, last name, and his cell phone number. Now you can text that listing right out to him. We do have a great class called the Collaboration Center class that we're teaching this week. This is a class designed to help you set up your searches and marry them to the prospect that you basically want to get those automatic notifications when new listings with their criteria become available. So for instance, now I've pulled up this 205 Lakeshore home. Now you guys used a report that was a little bit different looking. So as you can see, I've got my report. I personally like this one just because I'm familiar with it. It's got all my quick action icons over here, so I can jump into all different programs that are specific for this property address. But we know that you're used to a particular report that you had created before. So if you simply go over to reports over here on the right, and if you scroll down to specialty views, you're going to find the UPAR All Fields Data Report. By the way, don't be afraid to move that up or favorite it so that you can find it very quickly. As you can see, I can just simply click on it, changes my report over to that one, which should look a little more familiar to you. This, I believe, is the report that Brian recreated from your old system. So that way you don't have to relearn where everything is. It should be laid out in a very similar format. Remember, there's a lot of other great reports that we've built that you now can use too. So you have what you had before, but the idea is you have even more now to choose from. If you go over to reports, let's say you are working with a client. Most of our client reports have client right in the title. They'll, of course, have your branding and contact information at the bottom, as you can see here, but it's a nice, easy way to send a one-pager over to a client, or again, you could simply text it out using the share button too. One of the other things is you'll notice that you've got a lot of quick action links into different programs. And one of the things that Brian has done is create a single property website. This is one of my favorites. The single property website is a great way to share your listings out onto social media. But the nice thing is you do not have to do anything to use the single property website. It's already built. When you start putting the information into Paragon and you save your listing, in just a few moments after you save that listing, you will receive an email that says your single property website has been created and is ready to share. So if I go over to my quick action icons over here, the single property website has basically a little house with a check mark on it. Now you can access single property websites directly from the listing ticket, or you can also find them in your agent toolbox. We call resources your agent toolbox. So as more and more programs become available to you, you will find them in your toolbox. So if you simply go to resources, you'll find your property inventory links. This is going to show you your single property website links. That's all that is. But in this case, I've already got the listing open right here, so I'm just going to click on that single property website button. And let's take a look. So this is one of the added features that you're going to get by going into the new Paragon. I know it's always nice when you're going through all these hard changes, and gosh, we know change is so difficult when you're going through this, but you get new programs and new tools. Sometimes it really does make it worth it when you actually look at the new benefits and features. So the first thing about the single property website is when it opens up, it's obviously going to open up for that specific agent. Now, the nice thing here is when agents today are sharing from, so many people are sharing from IDX sites like Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com, but I have a problem with that. I'm taking all of my photos, all of my great captions and descriptions, all of my comments and my public and agent remarks. I'm writing it all up, and now I'm supposed to actually share all this great information out onto a site where someone just bought the zip code and they're now retrieving the lead. So basically all my photos and my public remarks are going to help them close a deal. Well, I want to share it in a way that it's giving the lead back to me. And that's exactly what the single property website allows you to do. So when you share this, it's sharing Tom's information, but not only for that specific property, but down below, it's going to be all other Tom's active, pending, and 90 days worth of solds. And so if I don't like that particular listing, I may like one of Tom Lipinski's other listings. So the idea is it's only promoting Tom and Tom's inventory, not a bunch of other agents who may have just bought the zip code. That's really the key. So first and foremost, when people click on it from social media, they're going to see the gallery view, which allows them to simply go through the photos. I borrowed Tom's listing. It's a lot nicer than my my listing that I have currently. He always gets the really fancy ones, so it's a lot nicer to show these. But you can go through the gallery style view. I'm just going to move this down a little bit here. Then, of course, you're going to have your virtual and video tours. And what's nice here is if you have added a branded tour into Paragon, and basically there are 4 different links that you can add in. You can add in branded or unbranded tours. The difference is in a branded tour, you can actually have contact information. You can say, hi, my name is Colleen. Let me walk you through this house. Here's my cell phone number. Do you need to get pre-approved? I got a great guy. You can do a branded tour that actually has your contact information. You just want to make sure you put that in the right spot within Paragon. And we're going to look at that too in just a moment. But the nice thing here is that single property website will grab your branded tour. So when you're sharing it out onto social media, they're getting even more information about you and again, your other listings. Brian, do we have any questions? I saw the question light flash a couple times.
No questions.
All right, terrific. All right, so when I'm ready to share this out onto social media, I've got my share buttons over here to the right. I can share my single property website out onto Facebook. Simply click. It's going to open up that Facebook window. I can write a nice call to action like this home won't last long. And of course, I probably want to share this to my business page. That way I'm not violating any fair housing laws. I'm sharing it to my business page and then sharing it to my personal page. You can also share it if you manage, let's say, a company page, or maybe you want to share the single property website in an event, like maybe you're doing a live open house on Facebook. I'm seeing more and more of those. You might want to share the single property website out in an event. It's a great idea as well. All right, you can also click here. You can also tweet this out, put it on Twitter. You can add it to Pinterest, LinkedIn, or email it out from here. The idea is it's a nice user-friendly site, like so many of our consumers are looking for, right? And now we can also schedule a showing, which basically just emails you, the agent, when they'd like to see that property. Down below, I love the clean interface. I think one of the benefits here is it's really streamlined to just what a client wants to know. But they want to know room sizes. They want to know, property basics. They also want to be able to read the remarks, things like that. All of that is here on the single property website. If they have a question, they can also email the agent. All of the contact information for Tom is right here. And again, not only am I seeing the active listings, but I'm also seeing solds. You're probably thinking, well, why on earth would you want to include sold? Well, let's say that you just, you got your seller $10,000 over asking, you took a cash deal, you closed in 7 days, and you want to promote that success. You can actually even post out onto your solds. So you can say, hey, my seller's so happy. They got $10,000 over asking. We closed in 7 days. I'd love to do the same for you. So those types of successes can be shared as well as your listings. So that is the single property website. Remember, there's two places to find your single property websites. They can be located right from the listing ticket, and you can also find all of your single property websites for all of your listings right under property inventory links. Okay. So let's talk about some of the challenges with conversions. And of course, it's making sure all the information comes over properly, that your photos are coming over, that the fields are matching up. And I have to tell you, I had no idea until I joined the MLS 10 years ago how tricky that is, because every MLS seems to have a different field. They're doing it a different way. They're practicing different statuses. And I have to tell you, Brian does a great job to try to match all of that up. And it's not an easy job at all. But one thing we ask you to do is, if you are looking at your listing and something doesn't look correct, again, you only went into cutover a week ago, so it's still relatively new, but if you are looking at a listing and something does not look correct to you, maybe a photo is upside down, or maybe your photos are missing, or maybe you notice something as far as the area doesn't look right, what we're going to ask you to do is hit that corrections button right up here at the top. That corrections button goes right to Brian. You do not have to say who you are. It already knows who you are. It's, you know, this is a reporting that just goes to Brian so he can troubleshoot what's going on with this issue. You don't have to say who you are. We already know that. You don't even have to say what property it is. We can see that. All we need to know is what's wrong with the listing, and then we can go in and start opening the back end and see maybe why the photo didn't come over, or we can see why a particular field didn't populate. So we ask you, if you notice anything that does not look right, simply click that corrections button and let us know what is wrong so we can take a look. All right, so some of the other important changes, if you will, that I think will make all of this worth it is you now have deep linking into places like Bsna. Now, this is a feature I really like, because the idea is I don't want to have to if I want Bsna information on a property, I don't want to log out of Paragon, go and try to find the municipality. Now I will have to, you know, put in my credit card, then I have to type in the address. I mean, it just gets really repetitive, and it takes a long time to wait for every screen to load. So the idea now is that you have deep linking into Bsna. Now, let me be very clear that if there was a fee for a particular area or a particular municipality, you still have to pay that fee. This is just taking the work part away. It's taking you directly to that municipality so that you can purchase that record. Now, not all municipalities charge a fee. So if there is no fee, it just takes you right into the record. If there is a fee, sometimes it's $1.50 or $2. It just depends on what the municipality wants to charge. Then you'll still need to pay that fee. The idea behind it is it's just going to make it much easier to do so. All right, so if I click this little, and I apologize, I gave Brian a lot of good-natured ribbing about this, but basically it looks a little like a trash can. It's supposed to be a government pillar, by the way, but when he stuck the government pillar on the button and smushed it down, it kind of looks a little more like a fat trash can in my opinion. But anyway, if I want to see the Bsna record for this property, I simply click on that trash can looking icon. That's going to take me directly into the Bsna record for that specific property. And in this particular city, there is no fee that I'm going to need to pay, so it's going to open up that record for me. And more of the municipalities down here are including things like the building department and assessments that may be due. Water, because water stays with the property, so a lot of water bills. The city of Warren has all their houses where their water bills can be displayed, because obviously, and I just had this happen, I listed a house that had a $700 outstanding water bill on a $50,000 house. That's a lot of money, so we needed to go over that in the net out. So a lot of those things are now being incorporated into many of the Bsna sites, but the idea is when I'm ready to start getting all the information, I just click the easy button, if you will, and that's going to take me directly into the link so that I now can see, oh yeah, it's got a frontage of 109. It's an overly deep lot. It's right on the water. Here's the square footage, how many bathrooms, and all that information is recorded right here. When it was built, Does it have a basement? What's the size of the basement? As you can see, all of that is now recorded. I always actually save this and I bring this into my CMAs. So if I have a listing appointment tonight, I want to also include that Bsna record. So that is another good new feature that you're going to have, is that deep linking within Paragon. And again, you'll find that it kind of looks a little like a trash can. I apologize, but you'll find that that deep linking is right here. And that keeps you from having to log out of Paragon, log into the taxes, find the municipality, and all of those extra steps. Okay, so let's talk about some of the other big changes that I've seen coming through tech support. One of the changes, and I'm going to kind of jump over into the more detailed searching, but just kind of as a refresher, if you're looking for one property or one MLS number, this Power Search is a great tool. If you're looking for a particular agent's contact information, you can even use it for that. So I can find Colleen DeLange right here. I can see Colleen DeLange's other listings. So it really is an easy way to find one property fast. However, one of the things that Brian did was he built, and I think I hounded him for like 3 years to get this, he built something called full addresses. And full addresses, I think, is one of my favorite fields in the MLS, because what was happening is buyers were calling me and they were wanting information on multiple properties. I was having to pull up the properties individually, write the MLS numbers down. Then at the end of the call, I was trying to find all the MLS numbers so I could text them all the information. It was really a pain in the neck. Now, using this full addresses field, I can find up to 30 properties at once and very quickly. So let me show you how it works. The full addresses field allows you to type in an address, and it's Cove Street, and hit enter, and then you can start typing your next address. Then you can start typing in your next address. By the way, it does not matter if there is a, let's say, Cove Street, Cove Boulevard, Cove Avenue. It does not matter if there's a another ending to that street. So for instance, if this 123 Main Street, or this is 1871 Cove Avenue, it will still find it. It has what we call a built-in wildcard behind it. You can't really see it, but it's there. So it will always pull up all of those records for you. The other thing is, let's say you got a call and you're looking at the buyer sitting in front of the house on 123 Main, but he doesn't know, is it East Main? Is it North Main? He's not sure. You can actually put that asterisk in yourself and it will find anything as far as a directional before Main. So whether it's East Main, West Main, it will find it for you. So that asterisk kind of works like a wild card. But really the whole idea is I want to be able to find properties very quickly. I was getting very discouraged because buyers were finding things faster than I could, and that was just not acceptable. So Brian built this really cool way for us to add multiple addresses in at once. So I know if he's sitting in front of a house, most probably active or maybe pending. So I'm going to go ahead and put the status in, and now I'm going to be able to see those 3 listings that I was looking for right here. Okay, when I'm ready to pull them up, I can go ahead and hit the search button, and I can quickly pull them right into my spreadsheet. By the way, you can customize your spreadsheet. One of the things, I've been doing this a long time where I am, so I know a lot of the listing agents. So I like to add things like, what's the listing agent name? If I'm going to show 10 houses and I've done a few deals with, a couple of the agents, I might want to move them up in my rotation. So don't be afraid to hit customize and add in fields that are specific to you. So you can add in pretty much anything into your spreadsheet view. That's the nice thing about Paragon, is you can make it what works best for your business. All right, another thing, so full addresses, if you do not have this here, by the way, you can add it in. And one field that I recommend you add in right away is the UPAR MLS number. So if you go up to the gear, and by the way, this gear is located all throughout Paragon, and you can change just about every screen. If you go to that gear at the top, and I'm going to just take full addresses out just to show you how to add it in here. If you open up that gear, you're going to see this. all you're going to do is go to the find box, type in the word full. Full addresses pops right up for me. I'm going to check it off. Going to hit add. And the nice thing here is I can actually drag and drop this to exactly where I want it to go in my search. So maybe I want it to be closer up to the top. All I have to do then is hit apply. And what you're going to see is my full addresses is right up here at the top now. Okay, pretty easy. UPAR MLS number, that's another one you're going to want to add. So again, you're going to hit that customize button. I'm going to take mine out just so you can kind of see how to add it in again, because that's where you can search by the MLS number that you had in UPAR, because again, it will be different in the new system. So if I want to find it by MLS number, I'm going to type in find UPAR, add, and again, don't be afraid to rearrange them by dragging and dropping, and then hit apply. Now I've got that UPAR number right there. We've got full addresses, and I now can search very quickly using my quick search. But what about those buyers who really have more advanced needs? Maybe they want to buy on a land contract. Maybe they're looking for a 3-car garage with a finished basement. That's when we're really going to do our full-on traditional search. So that's going to be found right up here under search. Under search, I'm going to see that I can search by type or class. I can also see that I can search for my inventory. I can search, by the way, another popular tech ticket I'm seeing is, well, where's the new? We used to have a new status. You still have a hot sheet that's going to show you what's new. It's going to show you price changes, status changes. There's also something called the auto hot sheet. And for the longest time, I have to be honest, I didn't even know what the difference between the hot sheet and the auto hot sheet is. Basically, the auto hot sheet is when you last logged in. It's saved that in anything new or new statuses since the last time you logged in. So if you commonly call, let's say expires, or you commonly are using the hot sheet to find price reductions or things like that, it will actually know when you last logged in. And so what it does is it says, okay, we're going to save everything, and it will be your auto hot sheet from the last time you logged in. So there's still great ways to do it. Just sometimes it looks a little different, but we do know that that change is hard, and I empathize with you. I promise you, when you see all the new data and a lot of the information and new products that you're getting, it will start to make sense. All right, so we go over to search by class. Let's talk about some of the new fields, some of the new statuses that you're going to encounter. One of the things that Brian mentioned earlier is if you go in and you go to edit your listing, let's say that you change a price, or let's say that you want to change your remarks. When you do that, you may get asked to fill out some more required fields, and that's because now things are required for the data sharing, and that you didn't have to fill those things in before. But now, because of data sharing and looking at it in a bigger scope, there are some additional fields you will be required to fill in when you go to edit your listings. So one of the things in Paragon, if you don't know what a specific field is asking for, you can always scroll over to the right, click on the magnifying glass, and it's going to tell you basically what that field is asking for. So they're asking me for, am I looking for a condo, a farm, or a single family home? In this case, I'm going to say single family home. There are some new statuses. And as Brian mentioned, there's a couple things you do want to be familiar with. Now, your board right now does not have coming soons turned on. Now, it seems like, I know you guys had delayed showings, which kind of seems similar to me, but right now the board has not authorized coming soons as of yet. So coming soon is something you're still going to see, because now you're part of the data share. Doesn't mean you can do them as a board. It means that you'll see those listings coming in as part of the data share. So you do want to know what that means. Coming soons can be put into the MLS, but not shown for up to 7 days. That means if it's coming soon, not even the listing agent can show it. It's not for showing until that active date or activation date, and it has to be less than, so basically on day 7, it's going to roll over. You can have it up to 7 days at midnight, then it's going to turn into an active listing. There's also accepting backup offers. You need to know what that means. I hate this field, quite honestly, or the status, if you will, because really Accepting backup offers means that there's an offer in play. People have signed a purchase agreement. And that means that technically it's pending, but the homeowner still wants to keep it active for showings. That's what the accepting backup offer is. Then, of course, if I don't want it to be shown, if I want to stop those days on market, so let's say in 3 days we bottom line an offer, I don't want any more showings, then we have our pending status. So there are different statuses that you're going to see. Now, you do want to check with your board to see what those policies are. Do you participate in coming soons? Do you not? I believe Brian said that you do not currently participate in coming soons. But keep in mind, you are going to see those through the data share, so you do want to make notes on what those mean. What does that mean to your client? If your client sees an accepting backup offer, what does that mean to them? Does that mean that, you know, they should write an offer right away because they're going to get it? Or does it mean that there's really an offer in play, but they'll still take a backup offer? That's what, of course, it means. All right. Going through, I'm just going to put in a little bit of criteria because I do want to show you a couple of features that you may not have seen before. So I'm going to say that maybe I'm even looking for comps. I'm going to go in, I'm going to search, I'm going to say I'm looking in a particular area. One of the questions that I'm getting pretty often through the trouble support tickets are, what about the cities that have multiple cities with the same name? A good example, in my area, we have 5 Clinton townships. Can you believe it? There are literally 5 Clinton townships. So if I'm setting up a buyer prospect with Clinton Township, which Clinton Township am I looking for? Well, actually, here's a really easy way to remember. The first 2 numbers that you see are actually county identifiers. They are identifying which of the counties that it's referring to. So let me show you. If I am looking for the Clinton Township in Macomb County, I can go to where it says Macomb, or I'm sorry, where county, type in the word Macomb, and I can see that identifier is 50. So now when I go to Clinton Township, if I'm looking for the one in Macomb County, I know I'm looking for the one that starts with 50. But here's an even easier way. Had somebody call and said, you know what, I'm in Houghton, and how do I know which one of these Houghtons is in Houghton County? Well, if you simply type in the county and then you go to area, as soon as you do that, it's only going to bring up the Houghtons in Houghton County. Again, if I take the county out and I type in Houghton, you can see that there is more than just, there's Houghton Lake, Houghton Township, Houghton Lake Heights. If I'm looking for that identifier, I know it's going to be 31. But if I don't want to have to go through a big long list, I can also simply type in the county and it will do that elimination for me. So now I can say, okay, I've got the county in here. Now I'm looking for Houghton and I can see just the Houghtons in that county. Okay, if you do notice, you know, again, we're down in Macomb County, where I sit is down in Macomb County. So if you do notice something doesn't look right, or an area is missing, or an area is mapped incorrectly, please hit that corrections button and let us know, or you can email support, but that's how we can make this work even better for you. Things like structure style. If I'm looking for a 1-story brick ranch, I can still do that. I had a nice lady from the UP, and she emailed me, hey, I'm a little upset. I don't see how you can search for a garage that's 3-car attached. Well, of course you can do that. So what you would do is you can go garage, yes, no. But of course, that's only a yes or no. You want more detail, right? So that's where we start bringing in our features. We're going to scroll down here. And features work like this. There's must not have, there's must have, must not have, and must have at least one of these features. So let me kind of explain how it works. So let's say they must have an attached garage. That's all they want. They want an attached garage. It's very important. I can say it must have attached garage, and it will only go, especially if you're using the prospecting, the collab center, where it automatically goes to your buyer with all their haves and wants. I can say it must have an attached garage for this client. Then there's must not have. I had a very nice lady. I was selling her house. She was going through a divorce, and the husband said it was a newer septic system. Unfortunately, it wasn't newer, and it was leaking like a sieve. And she found out because we are in a county that requires a well and septic test. See, there's all these different ways to do it, right? In our county, we have a pass and fail well and septic test, and if it doesn't pass, it cannot be conveyed at closing. So, long story short, when she called me to find her new house, she said, Colleen, I do not want to see anything with the septic field because it was going to cost her $17,000 to add a new raised septic engineered bed. So she said, don't even show me a house with the septic field. I don't want to maintain it. I don't want to see it. So in that case, I would say septic, which is a required field. Anything with a septic would then not go to her, so must not have. But then there's one or more. Maybe your client says, I have a home business. I either need a pole barn or a finished basement to make sure that I can, have my home business, a place for my home business. So there's one or more. But right now, I think the biggest challenge that I'm hearing as far as trouble tickets coming into our support is lakes. Lots of going on with the waterfront, yes, no, because before you had a field that said waterfront and it had a drop down with things like pond and stream, and you still have a way to search for that. So let me just throw that out there right now. But I think this has been the number 1 big issue that I'm seeing. Waterfront, you still can search by pond, stream, creek, and you have a whole lot more. So let me show you. If you simply go to your features, if you go over to the right where the magnifying glass is, it's going to open up all the categories of features. Okay. Now, there are some that Brian is working on right now to get added. It takes a couple of weeks, so it's not going to be here today, but over the course of the next couple of weeks, it will be here. There were some that we were just unaware of because, again, they were a little bit different for you, and I think it's really due to more of the cold than we would see down here as far as some of the electric things. We're going to cover those in a minute. Let's go to water features. Let's get back to our pond and our Great Lake. One of the things we did not have was Great Lake and Interior Lake. Those have been added. So we found out on April, I think it was April 4th at Cutover, we got some very, very unhappy people calling us saying, hey, where is my Great Lake? How do I search on my Great Lake? Well, Brian's got it all added in. It's all mapped. You can search on it. We did have to add it. It wasn't there from the get-go, and we apologize. But these are the things we would only know if you report them. So it was very helpful. We appreciate the feedback where, I know some people say, oh, it's more feedback, more of this. We love the feedback because that's how we keep making it better for you. So not only can you search on Great Lake or Interior Lake, but you can search on a bunch of different options. Some tickets came in and said you can't search on pond. Well, of course you can. It's right here. River frontage, lake frontage, island, creek, stream, or brook, canal frontage, beach access, all sports lake, water access, association access, no gas motors, no wake lake. We brought on another MLS right before you guys, which was Claire Gladwin, and they had a big resort community called Sugar Springs, and they needed commons to waterfront. These are all things that we add. We have to make sure that they're RESO compliant. We have to make sure there's a compatible place for them through data sharing. But once Brian does his research and he looks them up in the RESO dictionary, if he can add them in, then we add them in. We'll let you know that they're there. The next ones that we'll be adding in have to do with electric. Now, this is, again, something we don't have in our area, and the other MLSs that we data share don't have, but you guys, it really sounds like this is an important category. So soon, you will see electric. Electric at street, electric at house, and whole house generator. Those are ones Brian's looking up right now, making sure that they're all compatible, and then we'll have an electric category. But most of the categories you're familiar with, obviously appliances, you're going to see all the appliances. When it comes to basement, this is where we'd find our finished basement. I heard from a few people about the having to put in what the financial terms are. So I have a client right now who only is buying things via land contract. It's a little difficult in this market too. But anyway, he only buys things land contract. So I need to know, are those sellers going to look at land contract terms, or am I going to write a bunch of offers that are going to go nowhere? So we do have a place where you can fill in the financial terms. This also allows, I mean, if you've got an unmortgageable property, well, you know, and you're not going to be able to get a mortgage on it, it's probably going to have to be sold cash, right? So this is a status that you would want to put on your listing. Or again, if you're offering land contract terms, there are people like me looking for land contracts out there. So I can say must be a land contract, and he's only going to get it if they are looking at land contract terms. Maybe you have a buyer who can only buy FHA 203K. These are all ways to clearly identify what that seller is willing to look at. All right, so I think I got most of those. I don't think there's any I left off in features. We do have green features in there. There's quite a few, but if you have any questions on what features are there, you can simply start typing the word. So if I'm looking for an in-ground pool, I can simply start typing in pool. Or again, if you're not sure, you can go right over to the magnifying glass to the right, and it will identify all of the categories as well as the features. Another question, and I got to be honest, this question I'm totally in line with. It kind of makes me a little frustrated that it even works this way, but let me explain. Had a lady call and she says, well, up here, I don't know about you guys, but we search on acreage and we search on year built. And you know what? So do I. So does everybody, I think. So it is a little hidden here, and I would recommend, remember I said you can customize this, I would recommend putting year built and acreage right up here in the top, especially for you guys. It would just make a lot more sense. Right now, to access year built and subdivision and acreage, you can go down to this, it's called secondary criteria. If you click on it, now here's my problem with this. When you click on it, it doesn't look like anything happens. But actually what does happen is it opens up a whole bottom panel. This is where you find year built, acreage. Now, in my opinion, those should be right up here at the top. I do not want to go all the way to the bottom every time to use that. I think it's really stupid. So here's what you do. You go up to customize, you go to fields, and there are these containers, primary and secondary. Whoever thought acreage would be in secondary, I don't really know. But anyway, it's in secondary. If I want to put it in my primary, I'm just going to deselect. So I'm going to basically remove them from my secondary. Now I'm going to change this to primary. And I'm going to say year built. Yepper. Here's my year built. Going to add it in. Going to take it from year built at the bottom, want to move that sucker all the way up to the top because that's one that we commonly use. We want to make sure that all the ones that we need are right up at the top where we need them. Again, acreage would be another good example. So I would now find acreage, check it off, add it in, and then drag that to the top. Just remember to apply it so that it stays there for you. But those are ways to customize the system to make it easier for you. So you are getting some new tools. You're getting that single property website. You're getting some great integration pieces. You're getting the full addresses over to the right. So you're getting a lot of great new functionality. I know that also means having to learn, the system more. And I apologize. I know that change is not easy, but know that there is a benefit. When you're getting more data, when you can see more comps, that makes a big difference. That means more closed sales. So speaking of closed, as we start entering some criteria here, I'll show you a couple other tricks. You also can search by map. Now, for where you guys are, this is probably going to be another thing that's really going to save you some time. So I'm going to say, maybe I'm looking for some comps for my listing appointment this evening. Maybe we've got 3 bedrooms. By the way, I hate these stupid MLS calendars. That's why Brian loves me, is because I'll tell you what I like and what I don't like. But if you don't want to use these stupid MLS calendars, you also have these wonderful drop downs. If I just want to find things like an appraiser would and I want to go back 6 months, just use the drop down and say, okay, I want to go back 6 months. I want to find closed comps. I'm looking for 1 stories, 3 to 4 bedrooms. You could put in year built, basement, yes, no. I could put in square footage, things like that to sort of narrow it down. But now you're thinking, okay, well, you got 14,000 comps. That's a lot of comps. You'll be there for a long, long time. But actually what I want to do is what an appraiser's going to do. I want to stay within 1, 2, or 3 miles, depending on, where you are. What I want to do is I want to go into my map. So I'm going to go search by map. And here's what I want to do. I want to go up to this top field right here, and I want to type in the address. So I'm going to do 41539 Wessel, comma, the city. So in your case, it would be the Root Street address. So leave off the ways, the drives, the circles, leave those off. And then I want to put, comma, the city. And I want to click that magnifying glass. What I'm doing is I'm actually now relocating to right where that listing is. Now, the next piece is I want to do what an appraiser is going to do. I want to stay within, in this area, I would do 1 mile. So I'm going to type in 1, search radius. And basically what I'm doing now is I'm creating a circle just like an appraiser would that I can see the comps in. Each one of these is a comp. If I click on it, it's going to show me the comp over here to the left, and I can even click on the link, which takes me to the MLS record. If you see these little clusters here, that just means the comps are very close in proximity, and that's just telling me if I click on that, I can actually scroll through the comps just like that. All right. If I've forgotten to add any criteria, I can always go right back to the criteria button here, and I can add it in and then jump back to my map. You can actually even exclude an area. So if you are, let's pretend for a moment that you've got this little beautiful brick ranch back here, but Brian listed these $6 million waterfront properties, but your house isn't on the water, so you basically want to exclude those 6 listings. So what I want to do is I want to go over to the drawing tools. I can do things like, in this case, I'm going to use the Paragon here. I'm going to say, okay, I'm really excited for Brian that he has these beautiful, $1 million waterfront properties, but I want to exclude them so they don't screw up my CMA numbers. So all I want to do is I want to hit the edit, and instead of including them, I'm now excluding them. So I'm pulling those $1 million listings out so that they don't mess up my CMA numbers. Okay, you can have up to 10 shapes on these maps. And by the way, you're covering more area, and I don't know about up there, but gas is like, I can't even believe what gas is costing me down here. So I do not want to drive across town to see, is my buyer going to like a particular neighborhood? So you can also use this little yellow Google man. We see them all the time, but I know until I started using this, I never really thought much about it. If you want to grab that little yellow man, what he does is it allows you to walk the neighborhood. It'll actually tell you where you're setting that little Google man. So I can set them right in front of that particular house. I can walk down the street. I can see the house to the left. I can see the house to the right. I can literally do a 360 view of the entire neighborhood. Okay, so again, if I want to go all the way around, and it will even show you where your subject property is. And what I mean by that is there's a little flag. See this little flag right here? Let me zoom in here. There is a little flag, or a pin, if you will, right on the subject property to let you know which property is the subject, and it happens to be this one right here. So some really cool features. It uses Google Maps. It's pretty easy to navigate. It's got some great tools. There's, if I might close this here so you can see it better, right under here, we've got layers. And you can do things like layer the floodplain. So if I want to see, is my buyer going to need flood insurance over here? I can see what the legend is for the flooding areas. And I can zoom in and I can see, does this in fact fall in a floodplain? And you can see that it does. So there's some really great tools right underneath the layers. You can check parcel IDs. You can see how big the parcels are. If you're looking for someone, maybe someone wants a bigger parcel of land. So don't be afraid to use those layers as well. All right, so if you're like me, by now you're probably thinking, this lady with the fuzzy hair, she talks so fast, how am I going to remember all of this? Well, don't worry. We recorded this whole class probably tomorrow afternoon. I'll have it uploaded into our playlist for you. And let me show you where to go where you can watch it. So basically, if you go to YouTube, we have a YouTube channel called My Real Source Media, and I believe Brian's actually going to put it on your homepage. But My Real Source Media is our YouTube channel, and when you go there, there is a UPAR playlist. All you have to do is click on the playlist, and it will show you all of the videos, all of the classes that we've done up to now. So if you're not available, let's say you really want to know about the Collab Center and showing time carts, but you're not available in the next classes, we've got you covered. All of the classes, along with the dates, so you know when the class was held, they're all right here. So again, if you wanted the Collab Center, that's here. If you want to know how to enter a new listing from tax records, that's there. The idea is you have help 24 hours a day through the playlist here, but then you have support. That's 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. It's free support, and we support not just Paragon, but all of the products that you get. So even if you have a question on Cloud CMA, or you have a question on the data sheets. One more thing I want to bring up, attached in the GoToWebinar handout section are the data sheets for, and there's just two in there. I put the UPAR data sheet and the residential data sheet. There are, of course, data sheets for multifamily, vacant land. There are data sheets for the different classes of property, but there is something you need to know. Because we had to add some additional things like ski resort, trail side, some things that were unique to you. Not only do you want to use the data sheet, which will spell out what's required. Someone asked on the call earlier, can I find out everything that's required in Paragon? And the answer is yes. If you open up the data sheet, you can see all the red are required. You can see that you can check off the features, put in room sizes easily. I love the data sheet. I think it's a really easy way to fill out all the information quickly. So that will kind of be a good indicator of what's required. But there is a secondary sheet because there were some things that were so specific to you, and we don't want to put them on the data sheet because remember, we've got a lot of people who use the data sheet, and these would be things that would be only for UPAR. So what you're seeing on my screen is the MLS that you belong to, or the MLS basically class, the Iron Mountain, whether you're with Keweenaw, Western Upper Peninsula, so which of the MLS organizations or boards that you belong to. And then down here, the ski resort name, trailside description. And so those items are only on that sheet. Now I've attached the two that you'll need for a single family home in the GoToWebinar. But if you're looking for all of the sheets, you can write in Paragon, you'll see something called MLS Documents. MLS Documents was designed to allow you to access all those data sheets as well as all the conversion information you might need. So you won't see all this, by the way. I have staff access, so I have everybody's folder here. But you'll see the UPAR conversion file. That's all the important information that Brian went over. But right down here, you'll see the MLS data sheets. This is where you can find that single page UPAR sheet and the class data sheets too. All right, so Brian, was there any questions? Is there anything I missed that you think would be helpful to go over? I know I did a lot of talking.
No questions. I think you hit everything, at least that I could think of at the time.
All right. Is there a mobile app for the new Paragon? We are going to be teaching HomeSnap. HomeSnap is our mobile app, and the reason is you can edit your listings from HomeSnap. You can see property disclosures in HomeSnap. You can get all the MLS information. You can even save searches. You can access your Paragon searches from HomeSnap. So Brian is working to get all the HomeSnap information, and I know some of you are familiar with HomeSnap before. This is HomeSnap Pro Premium. These are things that you wouldn't have had before, but yes, HomeSnap is our mobile app. And Brian, they won't if they tried to set it up now, that probably wouldn't work for them, would it? If they went to the App Store right now?
Yeah, right now we're still working on HomeSnap. I mean, for those that have already downloaded it, you could still, I think you could still sign in. It's just that I don't think you have those entitlements like editing and documents yet.
All right, maybe Brian, maybe you can help me with this one because I'm not sure. Where is the arm's length category? Now I'm familiar with arm's length when you are closing a property. I'm not sure if that's what Tim means. Tim, if you could be a little bit more specific, are you talking on the closing side, like the property has closed in an arm's length transaction? That would be helpful. And Amanda asked me to mention, can you please still mention that they need to submit a change form the same way that they did before, and that the change form is now available in MLS Docs? So perfect timing on that, Amanda. So the one key thing to remember is your board still makes your rules. They still make your rules, your regulations. Nothing has changed there. So whatever your board rules are, you're going to continue to do it the way you've always done it, and you're going to follow your board rules. If your board requires that you fill out and submit a change form, then that's what you're going to do. You're going to go to your MLS folder, so MLS Docs, under the Upper Peninsula Association of Realtors. You're going to see change forms here. So again, if you want to use the fillable change form, you're going to click on that. By the way, we are working with ZipForm. The forms, the data forms themselves are already created. ZipForm will be making them available to UPAR. We're hoping, I know Brian's checking into that. We're hoping that that will be done really quickly so that you can use ZipForm to fill out the data sheet. On the other side of that, the UPAR single form does have to be created, the one that's unique just to you. So that will take slightly longer, but that too will be available in ZipForm. So remember, the board policy is to fill out and submit the addendum to the listing or the change form. You're still going to do that. You can find that change form right under MLS documents. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Any more questions? Does the financial terms mean that the house already qualifies for those types of loans, or is that what the seller will consider? So I can only answer for down here. What we do, that's really what the seller will consider. You know, if I know the house is not mortgageable, meaning I know that, you know, it couldn't be mortgaged, it's basically a shack and it's falling down, then I know I'm going to need to put cash in there, because I don't want a bunch of people trying to send me a conventional offer that I know I can't take. A lot of times sellers don't want to take, they might not want to take an FHA or VA loan. So if they express that, that's a way to market the house to what the seller is willing to look at. Not all sellers are going to want to take a land contract, unfortunately for me right now. So if that's the case, then you market what the seller would be willing to accept. And it helps people like me who are searching for a special type of financing find the home that would be perfect. If your seller's open to everything, you could select FHA, VA, cash, conventional, whatever you want. But it's really what the seller's looking to accept. Okay, what is the difference between municipality? I'm going to let you answer this one, Brian. What is the difference between municipality and area municipality? Both seem to appear in the residential search.
Yeah, they're actually identical. Unlike most MLS systems, we actually adopted a standard when it comes to area. Area meets what is the taxing authority for that property, and that's exactly what municipality is. The point of municipality is it's more of a report-friendly version. It doesn't have the numbers or anything like that, but there's a one-to-one value for each.
Gotcha. Okay. Let me go through some of these. Really good questions today, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I'm not seeing those questions.
I was wondering, because you said there were no questions, and I'm seeing lots and lots of questions. I think it's I think because you came in today as an attendee and not as an organizer, so that would explain why.
I couldn't.
But that's okay. No problem. So Tim says, because there's a few of them here. Tim says, yes. Where would you? Yes, it would be for closed sales. So the question was, just to be clear, where would you see arm's length? Do we have arm's length in where you can close out the listing? And I know we have financing type, but I don't know if we have.
No, we do not have arm's length. I understand that was another a field in UPAR. There was no standard equivalent, and to be honest, it was not something that the leadership had asked for.
Okay.
So again, these non-standard fields, I understand it's in your market, but outside of your market, they really, no one's going to understand what some of these mean. So they have a limited value, which is why they have standards.
Yeah, we see that more in Realist and like Bsna from looking at it from what most of the state is doing. They don't close it on anything other than was there concessions, what was the financing, and what was the sold price. Those are the closing. However, if you go, you are right, Tim, that if you do go into Bsna or you go into Realist, many times you'll see it was an arm's length transaction that's more recorded by the municipality. So you still find those, you'll still find them in the Bsna record, but it's not something that we usually close out on the MLS end. Okay, I think that's it. If you've got any other questions, oh, here's a couple more. Will instructions on what each field means be added to the MLS data sheets? Let's see. Right now, there's tooltips. Maybe I should show the tooltips. That might be kind of helpful. There is tooltips and, of course, those question marks that will kind of give you an idea of what they're talking about. So what I mean is, if you're struggling with what does a particular field mean, there are the magnifying glasses to the right that do have the the statuses, but then there are also tooltips that Brian has put in. So for instance, if I hover over this question mark, it'll tell you for the wild card, use an asterisk. Or if I'm going into, let's see, what would be another good tooltip. But basically where you see the question marks.
They're in the listing entry.
I'm sorry?
They're in the listing entry.
I was talking about like the little tooltips here too, with the where you can run your mouse over it.
Like that. That's the canned answer for a free-form field.
Okay.
So
listing,
say that it don't have lookups.
All right. So if I go into the listing entry, I know you put a ton of those in here as well, and you've also put what's required. So one of the questions was, how do I know what's required? What's required has the red R in front of it. So if you only want to see what's required and fill that in, you can simply hit that required red R. The tooltips are right over here to the right. And it will tell you in many cases what they're talking about, like possession, occupancy, and days. So use both of those. The tooltips are very helpful, as well as those magnifying glasses. All right, I think that's the last of the questions that I see. Again, we thank you for your feedback. Please keep sending it in. Let's see, also please ask the UPR to send you our instructions. This may be helpful. Yeah, and anything that UPAR decides to, if they have certain instructions or they have certain things, they can put those under MLS documents. And so if there's something you think would be helpful, and I know, Carrie, you had some really great questions and comments today. If there's something you think would be helpful, feel free to reach out to UPAR and say, hey, can we put this in the MLS docs? I'm sure they would be glad to do that. And it looks like, I think there's another question. Do you know when listings will be on Zillow and other sites? I believe, Brian, you've already taken care of that, correct?
Yeah, they're out there. Zillow is live. Realtor.com is alive. We're just still looking at maybe some of the smaller ones. So if there's a site that you're expecting to see it on, maybe like homes.com or some CoStar sites like, I'm drawing a blank of what they're called, but there's like apartments.com, there's a bunch of others. Please let us know. We look at the big sites like Zillow, Realtor.com. We did have a request for Redfin. Now, prior to coming on board with us, no UPAR listings went to Redfin. They didn't even service the Upper Peninsula. So that is something that we're going to work with them to pull onto the site, because now under IDX, they're able to publish their listings.
Okay, I think that's all we got. Someone did say that Remax and Century 21 are not live as of yesterday. There was an IDX issue, they believed. Do we know about that? Is that something we can look at?
Yeah, well, the Century 21 is Realogy, and Remax, or Remax of Michigan, is the other one. So I'll have to see if I can get another update. But that's correct. They're still switching over.
Okay, so thank you, Adam. I appreciate that. All right, I think that is all the questions. I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your patience. Again, both Brian and I know that change is difficult. So we appreciate, please keep submitting that great feedback. If you do notice something, again, over the next couple of weeks, electric at street, electric at house, and the whole house generator will be added. We'll let you know via email that that's been done. But other than that, I hope you have a great day and happy selling, everybody.